Too kind. Thank you, thank you. As Sophia Loren's baby once said, all that for me. Anyways, welcome to episode number 2 of Planet Valenti Television, PVTV, starring Dan Valenti. That's me. You presumably know who you are, and we're taking your phone calls this evening. And you'll see the phone number periodically shown on the screen. Best time is to get in early, I guess, open lines right now. And I'm going to switch over here. And let's just talk about the rules of engagement a little bit. Now, we'll take phone calls, and as most of you know, I do write on a blog that I started at the end of September in 2010. We're going on 4 years of pretty much daily blogging. We're up to about 970 entries, approaching 1,000. Wow, hard to believe. And that website is, as you see, planetvalenti.com. And we allow comments. And the purpose of this TV show is to also take that platform and transfer it to this medium, which is television. The old line that television is a medium because it's neither rare nor well done. We try to do the best we can here. And we want to include your phone calls and let you have a say. The rules of engagement are simple. Just as on the blog, you're entitled to comments, and you're also free to say whatever you wish, but it's not a right. You're not born with that right. It's not included in the Constitution of your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It is a privilege, though, that we're pleased to grant, and we give you that privilege here. And don't mistake the fact that we got rid of a couple of callers early last week, with, gee, he just wants compliments and praise. That's not true. And we welcome criticism and intelligent discussions of the issues. As I said the last time, I don't have a market on the truth. We try to discover facts about stories. We cover those stories as best we can and try to introduce information with the purpose of educating our readers and here our viewers, but also to inform them, to help you make up your own mind. We had a lot of mail from last week's show, most of it centered on our interview with the mayor, quote unquote, and the vast majority, I probably between email, Facebook, a couple of phone calls, and the Planet, probably received at least a couple of dozen responses, and all but 2 or 3 were favorable. I know our producer Dave Bubrisky took some calls. PCTV had some feedback. And the negative feedback that came in there was orchestrated. People were pretty much working from script, so you know that they were told to say these things. We're not telling you to say anything other than what's on your mind. And if you want to talk about the issues, let's do that at the phone number that you see on your screen, and we'll be more than glad. So, and that's a pretty liberal ground rule. There's not much else to say, but having done talk radio for 14 years, you can kind of sniff out where callers are going, and when someone starts off very first thing with, Dan, your opinion stinks, you know you're not going to get a good discussion, okay? So feel free to call up, feel free to compliment, criticize, question, whatever you wish. And as we said last week, we take your phone calls, unlike the mayor, who does a show here on I think it's the government channel, and he does not take phone calls, but we will at the phone number you see right now, 445, or you're hearing right now, 445-4234. And again, most of the mail was good. We did have one If folks questioned anything, it was the segment of our live interview with the mayor where we presented him with a wiffle ball bat. And I had one person call up, and actually it wasn't a call. It was, I think, one of the emails I received. And the question was, Dan, do you regret doing that with the bat? And, I thought about that. And the answer, of course, is no. The only regret I have is not swinging hard enough. I looked at that swing, and it was kind of weak, It was just, I was holding back in deference to the empty suit. I held back a little bit too much, I thought. And I don't think Ted Williams would have been impressed with the swing I had. Much better if I had put more gusto. So, ma'am, that would be my regret. And let me just say something about that segment. It's an empty suit, all right? It's an empty suit. And it's a wiffle ball bat made of plastic, full of air, not very significant. And we did our segment, and at the end, it was cartoonish. And to equate that with any kind of implication that I was trying to incite violence is just ludicrous. It really is a preposterous thing to assert. And anyone who can't tell the difference between a caricature and cartoonish satire and the real thing, I can't help you with that at that point. And the real thing is what it is, but this was cartoon violence, so to speak, quote unquote, and we had our fun. And from what the most of the feedback we got, it was a successful little stint. A lot of issues certainly floating around this city, and I'll be more than pleased to again talk about them here as I wish, but I'm much more interested in hearing what you have to say at our phone lines. I think they're open right now at 445-4234. And I'm not that nasty, and Ron knows that, I'm really a sweetheart at heart. And, of course, on the television, I play a character. And the character is Dan Valenti. Comes off a little bit larger than life, not averse to poking fun at myself, but it's the, I guess, persona that I have adopted and to some extent, really with the planetvalenti.com, to some extent, that's the persona as well, just this larger-than-life person. And unlike one letter I received, no, I'm not trying to single-handedly revive democracy in the city of Pittsfield, although that would be a pretty good idea, I would think. And probably the last thing that Mayor Bianchi and his crew would want, because that would mean involvement of more than a fraction of the electorate. That's how incumbents tend to win re-election and even win elections for the first time. If you can corral a dedicated bunch of the electorate, city workers, I think, would be in there, the unions as well, other special interests who would have more than a disinterested reason to get you elected. They vote. They are energized. And if you get 3 out of 4 voters, most of them ordinary citizens who feel cut off from government, if they stay away, I don't know how democracy is possible. And we've seen this in turnouts in some of the town elections. The town that was formerly known as Lenox, I don't know what Lenox has become, and I don't know what Lenox is trying to do with itself, but it seems to want to sell out as best as it can to far too many commercial interests. Anyways, voters for their town meeting had they made their statement. 94% of them did not vote. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. Do we have a phone call coming in? I don't see calls showing anywhere. Okay, 445-4234. Those are the phone numbers. And so be it. If you want to think that's what I'm trying to do is single-handedly come in and swoop to the rescue of democracy in Berkshire County and the city of Pittsfield, you may do so. That's not what I think I'm doing. I think I'm just kind of offering a few thoughts out there. Food for thought, frozen food for thought, as you will. And you can take them as you want. Now, some of the issues that we have, by the way, this is the script that we're working from. That's it, as you can see. It's pretty impressive, huh? But I think probably the main concern for the citizens of the town right now, and we will have a chance to speak with the mayor in a little bit as the empty suit does join us again for episode number 2. Folks said he wouldn't be back. They said there's no way he's going to show up after last week. But I'll tell you, he's a man of courage, and he's going to be here again. And he will, true to his word, he said he would, and I think I was told that he's in the parking lot right now, about ready to come into the studio. I think he loved it, as a matter of fact, last week. The real Dan Bianchi in the flesh. Well, this is a guy that was part of the neighborhood where I grew up. My family and his family did some mingling together, mostly via the church. My mother and his mother were both mothers, and we were communicants of Mount Carmel Church. We know the secret Mount Carmel handshake. We graduated the same class in Pittsfield, PHS, class of '69, which this year is having its 45th anniversary. Hard to believe, isn't it? 45 years later. So we're familiar with each other. He decided to get into politics, ran for counselor in Ward 6, and I remember doing what was for him his first political appearance in any media. I was doing the talk show on WBRK, and this was during the campaign, and he came on as our guest, and we had a good show, and we had a pleasant relationship following that. He was elected and served 10 years, if memory serves me correctly, a full decade on the city council in Ward 6, currently occupied by John Kroll, and decided after that to run for mayor. The first time he was narrowly defeated by Jim Roberto. That was in 2009. The second time he took it up again and won a narrow victory over Peter Marchetti by 106 votes, I believe. A mere wafer-thin part of a winning margin. And nonetheless, he became the mayor and, again, has shown a disappointing, petulant streak. When things haven't gone his way, he has tended to try to shut you out, ignore you, criticize you. Just this week he was, and in fact even now, he is facing what I think is a serious charge. This is an allegation. It was made before the first meeting of the newly constituted Human Rights Commission. They finally brought that commission back in place, and I'll tell you, if a city ever needed one right now with some questionable hiring practices going on and other things, it's the city of Pittsfield. Now, when they were having meetings to reconstitute the HRC, the Human Rights Commission, and it's not just like Tang, you don't add water and stir. It's a complicated process. There were several meetings, and we began getting anecdotal reports, evidence, if you will, albeit anecdotal, that the mayor was dragging his feet with that commission. And really, bottom line, as one person who was involved in that process told us, they didn't think he really wanted that commission to be reinstated. I don't think he had a choice politically, and it was. And one of the stories that we heard from several sources, and again, this is where the mayor is only hurting himself when he refuses to speak with us, because we did try to get his view of it, but the story came from when you get a triangulation of sources, each kind of saying more or less the same thing, you wonder if there is a kernel of truth there. And the story was basically that the mayor had said some disturbing things regarding race. Mary McGinnis, who was his former director of administration, I think that's the title, it's the mayor's assistant. And she had the job for about a year, and she was extremely upset. And we know this. We did not hear this from Mary herself, but someone who is close to her. Let's put it that way. Extremely upset by the mayor's behavior during the meetings to restore the Human Rights Commission. Sure enough, this week, I think Monday, was it? Not sure of the date, but the Human Rights Commission, chaired by Josh Cutler, who is also on the school committee, held its first get-together. And a businesswoman who has ties to Pittsfield is currently living in Medford, I believe, home of Billy Mom Bouquet, for any of you Red Sox fans out there, going back to the 60s when the Sox weren't any good. From Medford, wants to move back here, I guess, for family reasons, and sought the mayor and the corner office out for some advice as to where she should go, what she should do, what forms she needs to fill out, that sort of thing. And was shocked, is how she put it to me. And I have talked to Doreen Wade, is her name. She's the one who made the allegation at the Human Rights Commission, and she came right out and called the mayor a racist. She said at one point, this was to me, that at one point in a meeting in the corner office, the mayor got up and said some things that he shouldn't have said and put a finger in her face, and essentially that, I guess that was his way of welcoming her to the city. Now, she is a woman of color. She's black, and I had a chance to talk to a member of the Human Rights Commission after that meeting was over, and the question is probably the same one that you had. And the question was, is she for real? By the way, phone number is 445-4234. And we'll take your phone calls or not as you wish. We have plenty of things to say, but we would invite you in. And this person from the Human Rights Commission, and I won't say who, responded to my question, and again, I had heard this question from others, so I think it's a fairly common one. Is she for real? Is Doreen Wade a legitimate person, or is she a troublemaker? And the feedback I received, and again, it's just that, and these are just allegations. She's accusing Mayor Bianchi of being racist. The HRC will have to look into that and make a determination. I've known Bianchi, as I said, for many, many years. I have never seen that part of him. But at the same time, I've never interacted with him, as I recall, other than maybe in the stands at Wacona Park where there were black people or minorities. But the first time I heard that allegation, it shocked me, I guess. It probably as much as Doreen Wade says that she was surprised by the mayor's alleged behavior. It would certainly not be indicative of the man that I thought that I once knew, or for that matter, that I know now. That'll be a matter of the HRC. But there are it seems to be a lot of incidents of this kind that have come up lately. We talked last week about the problematic appointment of William Monterosso as the head of Berkshire Works, or Berkshire Not Works, as it is right now. He's currently placed on administrative leave with pay, and the office there is kind of frozen in amber. It's not really doing its job because of this atmosphere of, I guess, intimidation, fear. There's some toxicity going on there until the matter is cleared up. Sure, it's taken a long time to move on that for whatever reason. And we say with pay, it's not an insignificant amount of money. When they advertised the position, it was for up to $94,000 a year. It's certainly probably more than most people in the city are making right now, because unfortunately, this is no longer a town of manufacturing. And you think about this. I think I'll come over to this camera. You hear this every campaign, right? Jobs. Peter was supposed to solve that problem. We know how that's working out. And we'll hear the rhetoric, but nonetheless, the economy continues to stagnate. At one time, there were probably 14,000 or so at its height, which was probably right after World War II when all the guys came back and General Electric was hiring. But there were probably 14,000 jobs there. Now, my folks are still drawing a great GE pension and all of the benefits and everything that goes with that. They're in their 90s, and that wave of GE retirees is passing on, sad to say. And we don't have that next wave to replace them. You take those jobs, you take the jobs at Sprague Electric in North Adams, which employed many Pittsfield people, the silk mills, I think there was more than one, the paper mills, Schaefer Eaton, Beloit Jones. You add that all together, and you'd probably get, I don't know, how many jobs? 20,000? They left. They're gone. And it seems like all of the jobs creation and economic assistance and this grant and that grant and this new unit that's set up to address the problem just ends up becoming another political clique. The economy has certainly not been rebuilt at all. It's become a recreation and resort economy. Turning down beds in hotel rooms, putting butter on popcorn, flipping burgers. We've got the tourist season coming up right now in Berkshire County. And to some extent, Pittsfield is trying still to collect the sloppy seconds from that. You know, Stockbridge and Lenox and South County were long, go back to the Gilded Age of the 19th century. That was their economy. All of the great cottages and hotels down there. You go up north with Williamstown and the theater up there, Williams College, they get some of that to an extent. Massamoka certainly draws an eclectic crowd from all over the world. And Pittsfield tried to go that route. And, you know, you can say what you want about Jim Roberto, but that's one of the things that he did. He tried full court press on creating a recreation and resort economy and brought some entrepreneurship downtown, some new restaurants, some boutique shops. There's a movie theater there now. And sad to say, I was on North Street today, as a matter of fact, visited the hardware store at the upper part of the street. And on my way back actually was walking to the library. So it was a walk that spanned the length of North Street. And you shake your head. You wonder, am I in some kind of a zombie movie? Maybe. The Walking Dead are all over the street. Hardly anyone who appears to be respectable or knows what they're doing. Folks are self-medicating like crazy. Every other person had a cigarette going. trash, I'm sorry to say, now, trash is a small thing, but it's not a small thing. It indicates how much pride a city has. Just kind of let go. There was a storefront that advertised new Boston-style apartments, and they showed some great pictures of what the apartments or condos, whatever they are, look like. Look like they're pretty nice places, but the window itself has so much dust on it that you can hardly see through it. Now, what impression does that have on someone who's going to stop at the theater? Comes to Barrington Stage. Are they going to want to stick around at night? The answer is no. You walk further down, you see lottery tickets, you see cigarette butts, fast food wrappers. There was, it looked like a little bit of drug paraphernalia at one point, a needle of some sort. And you recognize that the recreation and resort economy, that attempt did not work. And that's the urgency right now in the city of Pittsfield. And Shirley, you have no thoughts on that? Okay. What's going to take its place? We've had a mayor now. Bianchi is in his third year in office, in his second term. What has he done? We're going to ask him that as we do our next segment with the empty suit coming up in a little bit. Tess, as we're calling him, the T, empty E, suit S, the empty suit. What has he done? How has he addressed this economic crisis in the city of Pittsfield? Well, let's see. Let us count the ways, as the poet said. He's had 3 budgets now, and they've all raised city spending. I'm going to go over here where my logo is because I want to give you the exact figures. This is from the mayor himself. This is the City of Pittsfield FY 2015 budget highlights. I've made my living with words all my life. I know they're nuanced, they're meaning. I would not call these, Mayor Bianchi, highlights. I would not call a budget, and I'm not making this figure up, but the projected expenditures, if the city council does not do its job and whack the hell out of this thing, the mayor is proposing to spend $148,142,507 to run this city. For what? On what? The population is dropping. Say it's not so. You can't, because it's true. Berkshire Regional Planning Commission recently issued a study that looked at the projected population of Berkshire County. And we are losing hundreds and hundreds of population every year. There's a certain amount of people coming in, a certain amount who are leaving, a certain number of births, a certain number of deaths, and so forth. And I would urge you to go online. The Berkshire Regional Planning Commission has this study, and it says that in a matter of not all that many years, I'd have to have the study itself to know, 1970, the population of the county was about 150,000. It is projected to be, in the next couple of decades, dipping down to about 80,000. And being the county seat, city of Pittsfield will see most of that population go down. So he's proposing, ladies and gentlemen, a budget of $148 million plus while the population is decreasing, while the tax base is shrinking. There's no new jobs coming in to speak of, and the final destination of that, Welcome Detroit City. Welcome San Bernardino, California. Bankruptcy, that's where that goes. And if the city ever needed someone to take action and do some things to try to get this going and reverse the seemingly relentless downward turn that this city has taken, it was the mayor who was elected in 2011. Because as I say, Mayor Roberto finished up his term, tried his best, did some things, didn't work out. So now we know that that city still continues to pursue that pipe dream of a tourist economy. It won't work in Pittsfield. So what do? I'm criticizing. Thank God I am. And thank God that someone is calling in to question what's going on right now. So what do? Well, budget-wise, you can do one of two things, or both if possible. You can increase revenues, or you can cut spending. Now, which one of those two do you think the mayor's going to do? How do you increase revenue, ladies and gentlemen, for a city? What's the primary source of income? Who is paying for it? Got a mirror? It's you. You're paying for it. He wants to increase revenue by raising your taxes again. It's not there. And if this budget passes, this is going to start hitting bone. The great whooshing sound you hear as people leave the city because they can no longer afford to stay here. Or if you're a young person, I was in class last night, we wrapped up the semester. And in my comp class, we were talking about things. I was talking with a young person who is going to the University of Massachusetts in the fall, and she wants to get a degree, her 4-year degree in business administration. And I asked her, would there be any way that she would stay in Pittsfield? And of course, the answer was a little laugh and a smirk and a chuckle, and said, no, she's not going to stay here. And we lose her input. We lose her youth, her energy, her optimism, and her brain power. A smart kid, smart young woman who's going to take her talents elsewhere. And that's what's happening to the city. So he's going to raise income by taxing you to the breaking point if you're not there already. The other approach is to cut spending. And this mayor has not done that whatsoever. And you can say, well, that goes back, that's a long cycle of mayors not doing that. And that's true, but as I said, it's just all that much worse than it was years ago. There was a little play there. GE left, when did they leave, Ron? About late 80s or something? Yeah, somewhere around there. Remember, my mom and dad retired in the mid-'80s. It was after that, late 80s, early 90s. So we're talking, what, almost 30 years, a generation, a full generation. And there was some play there, you know. Those retirees were just getting into living their golden years. And we used up all of the slack, whatever there was in the budget. I remember the aging Greek god, Peter Arlos, repeating time after time, and we're going to be talking with the mayor in just a moment, by the way. And he is back. We had a caller last year, but the aging Greek last week who said, the mayor's not here. He's in Boston. Ma'am, I'm telling you, he's here. No, he's not. He's in Boston. Well, he's here again, and we shall maybe ask him about same question as last week, Mr. Mayor. We'll start off with your accomplishments and see what you have. Maybe folks will start laughing when there's silence coming out of there, but I don't know. It's a laughing to keep from crying. And he I don't know if he just doesn't have the political will to do so, but the budget can be cut. It has to be, or there is financial ruin ahead for the city of Pittsfield. We are, for example, providing excellent benefits. The benefits package for public employees is among the best in the state. Where does that come from? That comes from the mayor's own study that he commissioned. And in the report, it basically tucked that in as a footnote. It ignored the extremely low cost of living here. It said that on average, city workers make 88% of their counterparts in a cherry-picked group of cities that they chose deliberately to make the comparison look good. And they didn't tell you that the city provides 85% health care. That is, taxpayers pick up 85% of that load. Now, I wish we had the money to do that. I wish there was. I wish health care was as much a right of Americans as the national defense is. It's not. And show me the employers that are even offering that benefit to begin with in the dreaded private sector. And if they are, it's not 85%. It's more like 50-50, 60-40, if you're lucky. Municipalities elsewhere are going with a 75%, 25% split. So that's a small adjustment that could be made. You would negotiate this with the bargaining units, and you would say, we'd love to give you 100%. Trust us. We can't. So we're going to have to go down and give you 75%. That takes it down from 85-15 to 75-25. And that saves you millions a year. You could run the rough numbers and you'd see that was true. There are so many ways. Do we need a top-heavy administration, a superintendent of schools, an associate superintendent of schools, a deputy superintendent of schools, an assistant superintendent of schools? This is for a school population that's half of what it was and has an administration that's quintuple what it used to be. This is what you get for $148 million of budget. You get a lot of padding at the top, and you buy a lot of what you think is political street cred. You think that's going to get you reelected. Well, I'm not sure that's going to happen the next time for the mayor. We wish him luck. We're assuming he's running again until he says otherwise, which means that this pay hike he wants to put through is for himself as much as anybody else. Now, we couldn't do our website or do this show, as a matter of fact, without help from the Secret Squadron. We're going to put those guys up right now. And these are the gumshoes, the spies, the secret agents, and just the plain old sources. We got them up somewhere. They're probably out on an assignment right now. And they are the ones who give us multiplicity. We can't cover. Are they on the screen? I lost my monitor. Anyways, we can't cover this city by ourselves. We need lots of help. And the Secret Squadron is the way that we do it. It's on there. I can't see it, but I guess they're there. So while they're there, we're going to wander over here. I need a piece of paper that I'm going to take. And you know what? I'm kind of glad you're letting me talk this way, because I get a chance to kind of educate you folks and get your minds right. I'm getting your minds right. Now, let me just wander over here, and you can see, hello there. I think we're on this camera. Yeah, we're back again. And folks, as you can see, we're joined by Mayor Daniel M. Bianchi, who has kindly agreed to be here for episode number 2. This was our most popular segment from last week, and we had to bring it back. And as a matter of fact, we will probably be bringing this back week after week because we know how much the mayor loves those photo ops. There was a great photo op of the mayor. Mayor Bianchi, first of all, welcome. Good to have you with us. Yes, I agree. That was a great picture of you today in the boring broadsheet. The mayor is awarding a trophy. Oh, I'm so excited. He's awarding a trophy for the winners of the spelling bee. And that's what he's doing instead of rebuilding the economy of this city by cutting spending. He's handing out trophies to sixth graders. It was a lovely picture. Now, we started last week, Mayor Bianchi, with your opportunity to share with us your accomplishments. What have you done for the city? I've gone on the city's website. You have a whole list of accomplishments there. Maybe you'd want to share some with us right now. So go ahead. We'll give you the floor. Really? You know, we gave him the whole week to come up with some answers, but we do your job better than you do, Mayor Bianchi. And we went to the city website, and I'll have the folks know, and Mayor, you can confirm this or not as the truth may be. And by the way, tuck in your shirt. Jesus, look at this. Come on, get with it. This is television. We got a pretty big budget on this show. We want to look our best. Look at there, beautiful. So we got the city's website, and it lists the mayor's accomplishments. Now imagine that you're a visitor, someone wanting to move to the city, bring a business to the city, and you're trying to judge, what kind of a place is this? Well, let's go on the city website. Let's start with the office of the mayor. And you go on and you see that it lists, now this is the internet, something I'm familiar with, www.planetvalenti.com. I blog on the internet. I know how it works. You can update it instantly. And you know that, Mayor Bianchi, because one of your accomplishments says that you oversaw the redesign of the new city website to make it more efficient and user-friendly and all of that stuff. And I'll tell you what, when you call it up, it takes forever to load, and the first image you see is the city underwater. Go to the city website, and that's what comes up. So you have your 2012 accomplishments. You have your goals listed for 2013. That's ridiculous. It's 2014. You can update the internet, okay? You can go in there with some keystrokes. It's 2014. So the best we can do is what you have on your own website, 2012 statistics. These are the statistics from the corner office. And again, Mayor, if you want to jump in at any time, we would prefer. You kind of get a little tight in the throat when you're on with me. Is that it? Kind of like the nervous man, maybe. Sort of like that. But just relax, okay? I'm your friend, and I love you. You know that. And folks, you should know that too. I love this guy from the bottom of my heart. As a person, not too keen about the type of mayor he's been. But here it is, 2012, hot off the press, statistics of Mayor Bianchi. These are his accomplishments from the mayor himself. 191 board appointments. Okay. We would wonder how well you screen these people, but 195 appointments other, whatever that means. Oh, appointments to see the mayor. Other appointments to see the mayor. Why do you list that? Why would you list that as an accomplishment? You hosted 195 visits to your office in 2012, 237 appointments with city employees. This is my favorite. This is my favorite, Mayor. I mean, I just love this one. 259 invitations accepted, scouts, ribbon cuttings. Yes, we should have a round of applause for ribbon cuttings. 259 ribbon cuttings, ladies and gentlemen. Give this guy a hand. Or not. Or not. I thought it was kind of cool. Ribbon cuttings. My God. How did you manage that? Let's see, what else? Also included dedications, graduations. Let's see, 23 school events, including DARE visits. You know, so he likes those 4th, 5th, 6th graders because they can't ask him any questions that might make him squirm a little bit. And, you know, my questions just are trying to elicit the truth. Let's see. 47 certificates presented. Whoa! That's really going to help this city. 25 school board meetings attended, 26 council meetings, 24 PETA board meetings, including yourself. You're on the PETA board. Do you meet with yourself? Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do a lot, as a matter of fact. Let's see, 56 staff meetings with department heads. And we could go on yada, yada, yuckity yuck forever, but, you know, we want to know, again, and I think taxpayers at least have the right to know that you're there for them. I didn't see one thing in that list of statistics where you helped the taxpayer out, the little guy, Mary Jane and Joe Kapansky, the ones that do the living and dying in this city, the ones who are paying the taxes that you will raise again, the ones that you're driving out of this city by your economic ineptness. So, be that as it may, Mayor Bianchi, we would give you the final word if you wish, and apparently not. But we are honored to have the empty suit Tess on the show again. And, you know, last week we gave you that cartoon presentation of the bat, and to kind of make up for it, we want to give you a more fitting send-off this time. And if we could get some celestial music going, I think it would set the mood appropriately, because, you know, that's what happens when great personages, such as the Premier of North Korea, Kim Jong-il, when they die, they ascend into the heavens. And so we thank you, Mayor, and we'll see you maybe next week. Good night. Wait, Ronnie, bring him down again. Bring him down again. Keep the celestial music going. I want a more slower ascension. All right, slowly. Thank you. Thank you. Good. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of this show, you have all just had a religious experience. And it's the most amazing thing in the world. I could hear the laughter from our bare bones crew offset through a couple of partitions through the glass wall. So I know it probably had the intended effect, but just satire, okay? You know, it's just satire. That's not really the mayor. It's an empty suit. But we might as well have him in the corner office for all the good he's doing. Okay? And again, I love the guy. I love him personally. I just think that he's fiddling when the city has no time left to fiddle. And we can't really afford this much longer, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we go back to this budget request. It's $148.1 million. At least you know that now. Without this show, you probably don't know. That's what they're going to be asking the city council to approve. And I'll tell you what, you are the people. And I usually have a copy of this little baby with me. In fact, I do now. But if it's in my handbag, you know, or a attaché case, or in my back pocket, this is the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America. Historical documents. I wonder how many of you have read those, have actually read them. We assign the Declaration of Independence in my Comp 2 class. We just got done with a teaching segment on the American dream. Is there such a thing anymore? What is it? How has it changed over the years? Is it still what it was when all of those folks came in from Ellis Island and were welcomed by Lady Liberty, and we took the teeming refuge from those foreign shores, and we said, come on over here, we'll take you. We'll take you. We want you. Make a contribution. Certainly my grandparents were of that ilk, and probably many of you listening out there right now. You wouldn't be in the city of Pittsfield. You wouldn't be in these here United States without those folks taking a chance, leaving home, leaving everything they had to roll the dice on Lady Liberty. And the idea was they would come here and they would contribute. They didn't have their hand out. There was no welfare back then. They dug ditches. They broke stones with sledgehammers. They did whatever they could to scratch out a living so that their children, which would be my parents' generation, would have a better life. And in my parents' generation, the greatest generation, they fought through the Depression. They went to war. My dad did. My dad was in the 394th Infantry Squadron of the 99th Division and fought in the Battle of the Bulge. He was one of those, he wasn't the 1st Division paratroopers, but he was very much in the band of brothers and put it all on the line. They came back, they won that war, and they came back to cities and towns all over America, including Pittsfield, and they built up this town into what it once was and no longer is. And a budget like this that caters to the special interests and does not take care of you, the ordinary citizen, the little guy, is not only irresponsible, but it borders on criminal. And I'll tell you what, he's got to sleep with himself at night and answer to his own conscience, but I don't know how you could in good conscience call for this amount of a spending hike at a time like this. And certainly by almost all of the financials that I have seen coming out of the city, coming out of Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, coming out of the census, coming out of statistical accumulations of data that you can get online. It's not trending well for the city of Pittsfield right now, and yet you have politicians, and we'll throw the city council in there, we'll throw the school board in too, as well. They're Nero, fiddling, you know. And I've seen Bonaparte, a mean one, if ever I've seen one, and Nero fiddling through that lovely blaze. And unless you start addressing a situation that is as dire as this one. Now, I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I'm trying to share with you some objective financial truths that will certainly bear out as evidence, if you look at the data, that unless something is done to stop the hemorrhaging, the outcome is not going to be good for this town. We'll play this broadcast a few years hence. How many years does the city have if it keeps going like this? It's a question I ask a lot of folks. The economists I know, ordinary citizens, businessmen, lawyers, and they will, the answers range. Outside limit is 10 years. Some say as few as 5. If this keeps happening, it doesn't have to keep happening, but you have to get involved. You can't let me do it. And I can't tell you how many emails and calls and whatnot that I get saying, Dan, so-and-so is happening right now. You got to look into this. You're wrong. I don't have to look into it. You have to start looking into it. And you look into us next week as we come back. We're wrapping up the show right now. This is Planet Valenti. Join me on the web at planetvalenti.com. And until next week, so long, everybody.